What's up, guys? Welcome back to Healthy Recipe. We're gonna be making today a lentil soup cooked with bacon and some smoked pork. We're gonna go off the fact that lentils have a nice earthy flavor, and we're gonna accentuate that with a nice smokiness of some smoked pork. It's gonna be absolutely delicious. We're gonna put some nice vegetables in there to add some freshness and some extra nutrients. It's gonna be a beautiful soup, and it's gonna be very quick to make. So let's get right to work. I have here some pork neck bones. These have been smoked, and I'm gonna create a broth that's gonna have a nice smoky type of flavor that's gonna enhance the flavor of the lentils. They're gonna go very well together. I also have a pork hock here that's also been smoked. Now let's go over some of our fresh herbs. I have 2 leaves of oregano from my garden. I have 1 small bunch of cilantro that I've been kind of getting a little tired in my refrigerator. I have some basil from my garden, also some fresh basil. It's probably about a tablespoon once it's chopped up, maybe about 2 tablespoons. I have about 4 or 5 diced cloves of garlic, 2 dried bay leaves. I have 2 cups of dried lentils. A half of a bell pepper chopped. About a cup of carrots chopped into half moons, and then about that size pieces. Don't want them too big because I kind of want them to be dispersed throughout the soup. We're going to be using olive oil. It goes very well with lentils, some of those Mediterranean flavors. I've got about 2 to 3 cups of baby portabellas, and they're chopped in half and then cut into about a 1/4 inch pieces. And these will shrink down a ton. It looks like a lot right now, but once they get sweating and cooking, they'll be down to half the size or less. And I have here some baby bok choy from my garden. This is in season now in Florida since we're at the end of the winter. So I'm just gonna use these for the soup. These will be great. Or add some color, tons of micronutrients. Really great green leafy vegetable. I have some uncured bacon with no nitrates. I have about 4 slices here, and I just cut them down to little slivers like this. And basically, I'm just gonna use this to saute our garlic. And actually, I forgot, a half a red onion is also needed for this. So I'll render the fat off this bacon and use it to cook my vegetables, and also I will leave this in to add more flavor, that smoky bacon flavor to the dish. And here I just have some feta crumbles that I just crumbled up, and what I'll do is I'll put this in at the end, kind of like to make the soup a little bit creamier and add some of that saltiness from the feta. And that's really about it. Not too complicated, not crazy amount of ingredients. This soup is going to be incredibly nutritious and incredibly flavorful. If you guys can get all of these ingredients, please try to do so. I guarantee you'll be very happy. If you can't get the fresh herbs, just use dry ones, but try to get everything that's here in this soup. Also, the hocks and the smoked pork can be replaced with like ham bones or anything like that you can find pretty much in any supermarket. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start creating a nice smoky broth as a base for this soup. Now, you can make this soup vegan and you can leave this stuff out. You don't have to use this, or you can use chicken stock if you don't have this on hand. But the smokiness and saltiness of this smoked pork is going to add an incredible dimension of flavor to this. If you can't get smoked pork bones like this, just try to get some ham bones and do the same procedure. The longer that you cook this, the better. Today I'm only going to do 1 hour, but if you did like 4 or 5 hours on a slow cooking, it would be even better, because then you would get all that collagen extracted from these bones. And of course, if you can get organic bones, even better. That would be an amazing bone broth. So I'm going to go ahead and add this first, and then we're going to just cook this for about an hour. Okay, while that's going on, we're going to go ahead and do the chopping that we have to do. We're going to go ahead and chop the bok choy, and this is just going to be a rough chop. We want some nice pieces of bok choy in our soup, so we're going to cut the ends off. And these are baby bok choy from my garden. These are 100% organic. They grow great in Florida in the winter months. So about 1-inch pieces, we're going to chop it. And this will also shrink down just like the mushrooms, a whole bunch. Now, we're going to chop our herbs. For the cilantro, we're going to chop it all really fine. Even the stems we're going to use in this. This is going to cook for a really long time. And those stems are going to just completely fall apart. About as fine as you want it. Now oregano, just going to roll it. Chop it. That way. And then we're going to go over it again. Really small. Like I said, guys, if you don't have these fresh herbs, use dry ones. Fresh is always going to be better, though, just remember. The dry ones will work just fine too. This is a basil flower. I'm going to actually just take that off. I might use that for a garnish in the end. Try to make this stuff look pretty for you guys too. Okay, so now we're going to cut our half of the red onion. Just going to chop it up real fine. And now we're going to go over to our broth, and we're going to go ahead and simmer some of the scum off the top. And this is the impurities from the bones. And as this foam comes up, we want to keep skimming. Okay, so now we've had our smoked pork cooking for about an hour. We're going to take it out. Like I said, guys, if you could do this for 3 or 4 hours, even better. I just don't have the time. I'm going to put it in a pot here, and I'm going to take my broth and put it over here too, and I'm going to use this pot for sauteing. Now in our same pot, I'm going to go ahead and render our bacon fat. We're going to cook that off until it renders the fat. We're going to remove a little bit of that fat because we don't want it to be loaded with fat either. And then we're going to go ahead and cook our peppers and onions and our other ingredients in here. Okay guys, so I'm going to get rid of some of this fat. So we want the flavor, but we don't want all that fat. And now when we drop our onions, they're going to sweat, and they're actually going to help us to deglaze the bottom of that pan. And all that caramelized goodness is going to come right up and contribute to the flavor of this delicious soup. All of that flavor is going to get right into our lentils, our smoky bacon and onion. In with the carrots, red peppers, mushrooms. You guys already know I love colorful food. And this is nothing but good nutrition right here. I'm going to put our lid back on. I'm going to let that sweat for a little bit, and we're going to come back in about 3 to 5 minutes to add our greens. Let that sweat down a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to go in with our greens, with our bok choy. This is all going to shrink down, so don't be scared. I know it looks like a lot, but it's all going to shrink down. And bok choy is just loaded with phytonutrients. It's loaded with chlorophyll. It's a really, really great vegetable to eat. Not really strong on flavor. It tastes kind of sweet. It has a pretty good flavor. Tons of fiber too. This whole dish is just going to have a ton of fiber and a ton of nutrients. And now we're gonna go in with our herbs. Our 2 bay leaves. Actually, we're gonna add our lentils first. I want to stir them in with all that nice bacon flavor before I add the broth into it. This could easily be made into our vegan dish. You would just use coconut oil in the beginning instead of using the bacon rendered fat, and then you would just use vegetable broth instead of the pork broth. We're gonna go ahead and add our smoked pork broth. Just enough to cover all our ingredients. I'm gonna cook this for about 25-30 minutes. You're gonna come and check it just to see if our lentils have broken down. One thing that you don't want to add to lentils in the beginning is salt, because it will make them very, very hard and they will never become tender or soft. It will take them a really long time. So the salt with lentils, you want to make sure you always add them after they're cooked. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cover back on, leave it on medium-high heat for about another 25-30 minutes, and we'll come back and check them. Okay guys, so right now I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of cumin. And the cumin adds a really nice earthy flavor to enhance that smoked bacon and lentil flavor. Flavors really play well off of each other. And I'm going to add about a tablespoon of dried thyme. Okay, so basically our soup has been through 35 minutes of cooking, and this is how I like my lentil soup. I don't like it to be a complete paste. Like I've seen some recipes of lentil soup where it turns into completely like liquefied. I like to still see some of the lentils in it, but I also want it creamy, so I don't want the lentils to be completely destroyed in the soup. Basically what I did is I took that ham hock and those smoked pork bones, and I took smoked pork necks, and I took some of the meat off of them and I put them back in the soup. Flavor, and to also, I don't like to waste any ingredients. To finish it off, I like to have my lentils drizzled with a little bit of olive oil on top. And I'm just gonna do a little bit for that olive oil flavor, enhance that Mediterranean smoky flavor we got going on. I'm just gonna drizzle a little bit like that. Some diced cilantro, give it some color and also some of that fresh cilantro taste. And I got some feta here, also to add that saltiness and that nice feta flavor. It's gonna make it also very creamy. You guys could use you can use sour cream on this, creme fraiche, or anything like that also, just to kind of like give it a little bit more of that satin, silky taste and texture. There is my lentil soup, super hearty, colorful, very, very tasty. Not what you're used to probably in lentil soup, but this soup can be very brightened up, as you can see here. And it can be made a lot of fun and extremely, extremely nutritious. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, so here is the moment of truth. We're gonna give this soup a try. It smells incredible, so I'm super excited to try it with the final ingredients. I got a piece of that smoked bacon in the spoon. Super delicious. It's smoky. It has that olive oil taste in it from the olive oil I added, which adds another dimension of taste. The lentils are really, really tender. It's really creamy. The cheese adds some nice saltiness to it, to the smokiness of the bacon. It is amazing. Like I said, you guys don't have to use this many ingredients, but if you can find them or have them on hand, I highly recommend you make it like this, because this is phenomenal. I hope you guys give it a try and you enjoy it as much as I do. Let me know in the comments how it does for you.